just walked in. Earlier I said, where was I yesterday? And I asked Brittany, the person who handles like making me go places. And this guy yells out, Omaha.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I'm gonna mess with people because I need room. There. See, the problem is I walk around, and if I walk around here, I'm gonna fall. And that's not good. I have never fallen off stage. I know, I put that out there. I did my first public presentation in 1992. I'm old, right? I really am. I turned 51 this year, and I'm falling apart. I was just talking to somebody recently, and I was like, you know, when I was younger, I could go to a concert and be like, I used to go to punk hardcore concerts, been in the mosh pit, whatever, until like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd get up, be at work at 5 a.m., and be like, yeah, let's go again. This is not, it's on here. Can you guys hear me? Back on the video recording-ishness? We're good. Okay, they say yes. Can everybody hear me okay? Awesome. So I'd be up until like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning at a concert, get up at 5, be at work all day, go to another concert. I'd be great. If I sneeze wrong, my back hurts. I don't know what the hell happened. I go to sleep, wake up, and I'm sore. Somebody referred to me as Princess and the Pea the other day, and then he came in the next day sore from the way he slept. I'm like, haha, fuck you. But, so we're going to talk about Orion's Quest today. And just so you know, I've got a couple qualifiers before we get started. I'm going to talk about some things, make sure you guys understand it. So basically, for the next 45, 50 minutes, I'm going to do hacker story time with Kevin. We're going to talk about various attacks. We're going to talk about how they work. We're going to talk about why we do them and discuss what the goal is. Because let me be very clear. I have the world's best job. I am a professional hacker. My job is, and we get paid for this. It's friggin' incredible. My job is to go in, break stuff, tell you your baby is ugly, and go home. Right? I have no responsibility to fix things. Like I give recommendations, like, oh, you should do this, right? Things like that. But my job is literally just to break in, to assess risk, to figure out how to get in and do this and what is the risk to the organization. As such, I have fun. What I always say is that my job entails me giggling all day. And if I'm testing your organization, you don't want me to giggle. Because then you're going to end up in a talk like this. It's just the way it works, right? We won't name you, but you'll know, right? But the reality is, when I talk about what I do, I miss 2 words every time I tell the stories. I talk about, well, we did this, we attacked this bank, we stole $25 million from that organization. They didn't notice for 3 months. Then they made us give it back. That's the bad part. Like, we get to steal this stuff, and then we don't get to keep it. That just seems mean, right? Like, they tease us, right? But okay, good guys, whatever, right? I always forget to say, with permission, at the end of the story. So we broke into that bank and stole that. We ended up in the vault of a bank, which, by the way, Scrooge McDuck lied to us. Vaults are not that cool. They should be, like, swimming around in the money, but no, you don't get to do that. Wow, you know, it's ridiculous. Now, you ever, like, all of a sudden hit something, like, oh my God, that's weird. The sheer number of vaults that I have been in seems unreasonable. Yeah, it's probably around 100. Yeah, bank vaults are easy to get into, sadly. We did this one test. We broke in, we convinced people, it was social engineering. We actually got the security guard to wheel the shred bins across the street to our hotel room, 6 of them. And then we called our contact and said, hey, we have your shred bins. And they said, bring them back. So we went and got the same security guard, and he helped wheel them back to the bank. And at no point did he say, why are we taking these to a hotel room? Which seems odd for a security guard. So sorry, buffering. 3 months later, they called us back and they said, we fixed the problem. Okay. Can you test again? And we're like, okay. So we go, and they had wanted posters hanging up behind the counter. If you see these people, call security. So one of the guys with me was Jay Beal, and Jay's picture was up on the wall, is a wanted poster. And so he walks up to the teller, and he says to her, oh my God, that looks just like me. And she says, oh my God, it does. And he says, my wife will never believe that there was a wanted poster that looks like me. Would you mind taking a picture? So he walked behind the counter, posed with the wanted poster of him. She took the picture with her phone, then texted it to him, so he had her phone number for social engineering later that day, and then he walked into the back of the bank. Notice the issue? Right? So that's the first qualifier. I'm going to forget to say with permission. Second qualifier, I am full of tangents. I will try to make the tangents relevant. I don't promise anything. I'm full of lots of things, and my eyes are brown. So that is this. What we're going to talk about today is Orion's quest. And that's just a fun way to talk about things. The goal here, we have an issue in this industry. I have ranted about this quite a bit. Ranted in Omaha, ranted in San Diego. I'll be ranting again in Baltimore in a week or two. Two? Okay, thanks. See, Brittany knows where I'm supposed to be. So does that guy. But sorry, you do understand you're going to be my example the entire hour. Okay, good. And everybody throw shit at him, but you're used to it, exactly. So we as an industry, we focus very often on the wrong things. We focus on highs and criticals that Nessus or Rapid7 tell us, right? We focus on the things that we don't move the needle. I will tell you right now that as I walk through these stories, as I give you examples of how I do all this stuff, almost none of the attacks we do are found in automated tools listed as a high or a critical. And the problem that we do is that we very often don't actually understand the systems or organizations or businesses that we're testing. How many times have you heard a security prick say, well, we have to fix that because reputational harm, right? If we get hacked, our reputation will be damaged. And I'll point out that every single public company that has had a breach in the last 20 years, their stock price is higher today than it was before the breach. There's a slight dip right after the breach. That's when you buy, because the stock will rebound and go higher. In every single case. This is not financial advice, I'm an idiot, but that's the reality. Reputational harm is the lazy way of saying, I don't know what your risk is, but I want to sound smart. Okay? Period. Now, I'm not saying there's no such thing as reputational harm. I am saying that it is very unlikely that your organization is going to be harmed reputationally in a way that matters to you. Now, I will point out that I said this in a class once. I was up in Detroit, I think it was. Doesn't matter. I was teaching a class, and I said that. And I had a guy in the room say, Kevin, you're wrong. My company has done a lot of research into this, and reputational harm is absolutely our biggest risk. And I looked at the guy, and I'm like, your company's wrong. He's like, no, it's not. We've done research. We're better than you. We know things. I said, great. I'll bite. Where do you work? Comcast. And that's what I did. I busted out laughing on stage in this classroom. Guy got pissed. He's like, no, Kevin, you're wrong. Our reputation is critical. And I'm like, fuck you, man. I'm a Comcast subscriber. Your reputation can't get lower. As a subscriber, I'd like you to get hacked. The hackers would run your network better than you do. There's a reason that people say, oh, at least I'm not using Comcast. But, anybody here work for Comcast? I'm okay with that. I just want to know who I'm making cry. But, Comcast sucks. They're not as bad as check marks. Don't buy check marks. So, I promised them I would say that every time I was on stage, and I've kept that promise. because unlike their organization, I don't lie. So, I'm Kevin Johnson. Who am I? Me. I've been Kevin for 51 years. I've been Kevin Johnson for 18 less than that. I am the founder and CEO, which is the fancy way of saying head nerd, of Secure Ideas. We're a consulting firm out of Jacksonville, Florida. We've been in business for about 14 years. August will be 14. We are hiring. If you want to be a penetration tester, we have open positions right now. Please send us your resume. And then I will tell you our only sales pitch of the day, because I suck at sales pitches. Brittany will tell you. If you work with a nonprofit charity, we offer free services. The rule is you can't be a jerk charity. We don't care about your politics. We don't care about your religion. You can't be a jerk charity. I'll give you an example of a jerk charity. Westboro Baptist Church. They protest funerals. They are a jerk charity, right? I have offered many a time to give a free pen test to Westboro Baptist Church. I just would not give them the report. But I am also an IANS faculty, and last year I was elected to the global board for OWASP. I am a nerd. I am so nerdy, I built a Chewbacca costume and wear it. I visit kids in the hospital. I'm a member of the 501st, right? So there's lots of cool things I do, open source things, classes, all that kind of stuff. I'm supposed to be really good at bragging. Brittany gets mad at me because I'm not, right? We're fun. We have a booth. If you want to come talk to us, we'll brag there. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about Orion's Quest, and then I'm going to walk through 3 different types of attacks. These are categories of attacks. These are where we focus, okay? And the goal here, as we talk about, is to understand what we do. And the reason I say that is, what we do is critical. And I'm not saying that because we do it. But the reality is that humans suck at risk assessments. We do, right? I was just in Omaha, literally yesterday. I'm on stage. I asked this question. How many people here are afraid of sharks? Like half the room's like, oh yeah, sharks suck, right? I'm like, no. I don't just mean like, oh, Jaws scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. I mean actively afraid of sharks. And like half the room kept their hands up. And I pointed out that Nebraska is a landlocked state. It is almost impossible for somebody in Nebraska to be bitten by a shark. The way they would have to happen is somebody would have to be transporting a shark from one aquarium to another aquarium, and they would have to hit that truck with their car and then get bitten by the shark. Right? Probably unlikely. Do you know that you are more likely to be crushed by a soda machine than bitten by a shark? That's a real statistic. More people are crushed by soda machines, but Discovery Channel does not have Soda Machine Week. We have Shark Week. More people are killed by cows. Do you know how embarrassing it has to be killed by Bessie? Well, I was there at 3 a.m. trying to milk the cow, and she kicked me. That sucks. When I die, which I hope is not for a while, I hope it's a good story, right? Not crushed by a soda machine or kicked by a cow. I think that's right. I don't have high hopes for things. I don't have big aspirations, right? But those are the 2 I would like. But we suck at risk assessments. The way we can tell this is how many people here are worried about SSL version 1 on their network. Good, I got 1 hand. I'm going to ask you, sir, why?
It's been depreciated for a while now.
It's been depreciated for a while. That's true. That is a 100% true thing. And I would have accepted also my auditors are jerks about it. Right? Because your auditors are jerks. Let me ask the audience. Anybody here ever heard of a compromise that was caused by SSL version 1? No. I've been asking that question for 20 plus years, which is about how long SSL v1 has been deprecated, if I remember correctly, right? There are exactly 0 known breaches caused by SSL v1. Yet, we have organizations that their entire business model is helping people fix SSL and TLS issues. And I'm not saying run SSL v1. Like, don't walk out of here and say, Kevin says encryption is useless. I mean, I did say those words, but I don't mean them, right? But the reality is, I'm not attacking you because you're using weak encryption. I'm attacking you because your users click links. And your users click links not because they're dumb, but because we build our systems to require them to click links, right? We build our systems insecurely on purpose. And then we complain about users, we complain about developers, we complain about SSL. The goal is to find the holes that matter. I was out in California at a movie studio. They had hired us to teach their staff security awareness. We were doing these weird presentations. And one of the things I asked was, hey, what's your biggest concern? And they had us do, we did, I want to say it was like 75 different sessions over a few months. And every time we would do a session, it would be a different group, right? And this one group came in and I asked the question, what is your biggest worry? What is your biggest concern? What is the thing that if I stole it, your group would be in trouble? And there's a room, there's like 150 people in the room, and they're all saying different things. Well, you know, the raw movies that are unedited would be bad. Oh, our employee data would be bad. And this one lady said, celebrity cell phones. That's all she said, celebrity cell phones. The room went silent, and then the rest of the room started making fun of the idea. They all worked on the same team. They all did the same job. And they're making fun of this lady. No, what are you talking about? And this woman fucking stuck to it. She's like, no, celebrity cell phones are the biggest piece of data that our group is responsible for. If we lose it, we're in trouble. And the people are like, no, celebrities have enough money, they can get a new cell phone. What's the big deal? You're wrong, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, stop, 1 second. So I look at the lady and I'm like, hey, man, why? Why are you concerned about, I'm not arguing it, I don't know. I asked the question, right? Why are you worried about celebrity cell phones? And she goes, oh, it's really simple. We have to have the celebrity's actual cell phone number that actually reach Scarlett Johansson or, you know, Brad Pitt or whatever, right? I don't even know if they're real celebrities. Yeah, they're real celebrities, right? Those are real names? Okay, good. Sorry, I'm bad with names. I don't even remember mine. She said, we have to have their actual cell phone, the one that they carry, the one that we can reach them. Because if, you know, something happens, if we have to reach, like, we have to, and that's a privacy issue for celebrities, especially the big names. And so we have in our contract that if we lose the cell phone number, if it is exposed through something we did, we have pre-agreed to a 7-figure payout to it. We can't argue it. They don't have to sue us. They just have to say, hey, my cell phone got out and you did it, and we write them a check with 7 numbers on it, right? And I'm like, well, I think you're right. Celebrity cell phones are your biggest issue. This entire team's job was to handle the contracts between celebrities and the studio, and that team was not aware that that was in their own contract, right? That's why we hunt. That's why we look at this stuff. We're trying to figure out what is actually the problem, right? So this is what we do, and where do we focus? Well, one of the most common places we start with are applications. Why? Because applications, well, they're everywhere, right? Our entire businesses are web apps nowadays. You know, I still remember, oh God, I'm old. I still remember 1995 when HTML was really put forward as a standard. I know some of you didn't exist in 1995. Sorry. We're building applications today that do everything from control the power grid to nuclear reactors to satellites to whether or not you can get a date tonight, right? Our entire businesses run in applications. Yet, when you look at the testing tools and things like that, the requirements that people have for, you know, regulations and contracts, it's almost all network focused, right? Most pen testers today will touch web apps, but not really dig deep into them, right? I will tell you right now that in every pen test we do at Secure Ideas, if the applications are in the scope, that's how we get in. Period. And it's not because we're amazingly good. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think we're amazingly good, but I'm biased, right? It's that there's so many applications out there, and the apps aren't built to be secure. They're built to solve a problem. And bluntly, that's okay. Because no company is in business to be secure. Nobody makes more money because they are secure. Security is a nice to have. Don't get me wrong, I'd like everybody to have that nice to have, right? But we focus on these apps, and we go in and we test them, and then what we find is that the app has been built to function, not to be secure, and so we're now able to show those holes. For example, there was a membership system. This organization had 9 million members. They spent years building a membership portal. This was the crown jewels for them. Now, when we start a test, when a company comes to us and we want to get scoped, they'll say to us, we want you to do a pen test. And we'll say, why? And we don't mean, why the hell do you want a pen test? We mean, what are your goals? What is your worry? What do you want to focus on? And this organization said that their biggest worry was people getting membership information, right? We're like, okay, cool. If we could get access to membership information, that was a problem. So we started playing with the app with permission. First thing we did, register for an account. Hi, new user here. Great, give me this information. I gave the information. Upload your ID. Here's a picture of my ID. And it was my ID. My ID's been stolen so many times, whatever, right? My social is 591-523-693. You can Google that. That's how many times I've been compromised. Let's be clear, if you want to steal an identity, mine is not the one you want. Just say it, right? So I uploaded the details, got there, and then you go to a page, and the page says, please review your information, and if it's correct, hit submit. And I noticed at the top of the screen, in the URL bar, so hidden, secret, very difficult to get to. It said something like, member review.jsp ? Account number equals 9,000,001. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. What if I change that to a 9 million? And I pressed enter, and I had another dude's information. And I set that number to 41, because 41's an awesome number. I know. Some of you are cringing because you thought I meant 42 and misspoke. I did not. While 42 is a great number, 41 is better. If you've ever been a cashier, it's a quarter, dime, a nickel, and penny. It's everyone. You just go right down the shoop, and there's your change, 41 cents. I'm weird. But I also love palindromes. Oh, God, palindromes are awesome. People who don't know, they're words and phrases that are spelled the same backwards and forward, like race car, or a man, a plan, a canal, Panama. That is. Right? And so I changed it to 41, and I had somebody else's data. We were able to, in about a 3-hour period, download 9 million people's information. We don't always take the information when we do that. Most of the time, we figure out that it's possible, and then we go to the customer and say, what about this? In this case, they had internal reasons that we had to actually steal the full data set, right? I hate doing that. Do you know how much risk I feel that I have having 9 million people's data on my computer? Right? It's encrypted. I try to protect it. But you also realize that I had credit card data. Does that make me a level 1 merchant? You got to think about these things, right? It doesn't, by the way. I talked to Visa. I actually tried to talk to the PCI Council, and they ignored the email, which I kind of understand, because getting an email that says, hey, if I steal 9 million credit card numbers, does that make me a level 1 merchant? Seems like a prank. I get that now in hindsight, that I didn't phrase it correctly. I talked to somebody at Visa. They said no. It's kind of like a BAA in healthcare, right? Yeah, so it makes sense. Okay? So we stole the data. That's a problem. Right? That took us about a minute and a half to figure out. We're a minute and a half into a pen test, and we've already figured out how to get to the thing they're most worried about. Why did they not find that already? Well, we talked to them about that. They were running automated tools, right? And I'm not saying don't run automated tools, but don't think running automated tools equate a pen test, right? It missed this. That's stupid. And I know why the automated tool missed it, because the automated tool can't identify what data is coming back. It can't identify what is sensitive. So when it changed that number, did whatever it did, and it got information back, it had no way to know that that was sensitive, that that was the problem, right? And they were running the latest version of TLS, so everything was good. Another example of this, military contractor, right? Obviously, a military contractor, they're a little bit worried about classified data, right? So they asked us to come in and test. All right, kind of cool. So what did we do? We walked in, we signed, hey, we're here. And they put us in a conference room. And they said, break in. So the first thing we did was we connected to their Wi-Fi, their guest network, the information of which was on a sign that was visible from outside the building, right? Because it was on the front desk. So we joined the wireless network, and it dropped us into a captive portal. You've all seen those, right? You can use the wireless, but don't do bad stuff. Do you agree? Sure. I totally agree. I won't do bad things. And we figured out that their captive portal had a command execution flaw. Let's be very clear. This was in 2023. It's 2023. If your application has command execution, Avanti, oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? I think I did. You're an idiot. And I don't say that often. Like, I really believe that most developers are trying good stuff. But command execution on a server today? The fuck is wrong with you? So this captive portal, we had command execution. So what did we do? We executed commands. And we got control of their domain controller. You know, their Active Directory domain controller? Let me be clear. If you are on the wireless guest network talking to the domain controller of a military contractor, that gets people upset. It was day one of the test. When we did our call with their CISO, we explained what was going on. We said, hey, here's where we're at. And the guy's like, oh, okay, so next steps, you're going to try to get control of the domain controller? And I'm like, I feel like I said that out loud. So I said to the guy, dude, I'm sorry. Maybe I misspoke. Maybe you didn't understand. Whatever. I wasn't clear. I have control of your domain controller right now. I am on your domain controller, which, by the way, why the hell is RDP enabled on your domain controller? But that's a different conversation. And there was silence on the phone for a second, because we were on a call with this guy. And the guy said, okay, cool, thanks, go home. I'm like, no, man, we got more stuff to do. He's like, no, you don't. Go home. I'm like, we got 4 more days plus the rest of today on site. He's like, no, I guess you didn't understand me. Go home. We were on a part of their network he did not think it was possible for us to get to, and his biggest concern was that we were going to gain access somehow to classified data, right? So he ended the test. He was very happy with, well, he wasn't very happy with the test. Well, he wasn't very happy with the results, I guess this is the words, right? And he sent us home, all because the captive portal had a flaw that it shouldn't have. This is a military contractor. And this is not a small military contractor. Do you know how many tests they do? Do you know how many organizations are attacking them on a daily basis? And we came in, and within the first half of day one, we had control of their domain controller. And I'd like to say that's because we're fucking awesome, and we are, but the reality was that was an easy attack. We weren't even that impressed with what we did. Right? You ever do that? Like you do something and people are like, oh my God, that's amazing. And you're like, I don't know, what are you talking about? That's Tuesday. That's what that was. It wasn't even Taco Tuesday. Tacos are great. I'm hungry. But So we focus on this stuff. We go after these attacks, right? Which brings us to physical attacks. We break into buildings, right? When you do a physical test, when you're evaluating a building, you are not trying to evaluate the response time of the police. You're trying to evaluate the controls, right? So we go after these organizations. We try to break in, but we work with the organization to have them turn off the alarm, right? Because you don't want me to break the alarm. Because let's be blunt, I can get into every single building. Because you know that every window in the world can be opened at least once. Right? Guaranteed, one time I can open that window. I may not be able to close it when I'm done, but I can get in that window. So that's not what we're doing. We're testing the controls on the doors. So we had a bank we were testing, right? We had a 30-foot ladder. That's not true. Day one, we thought our 20-foot ladder was tall enough, and it was not. So we had to go back on day two because I was outvoted. My idea was at 9 o'clock at night, we were going to Instacart a 30-foot ladder from Home Depot. I thought it'd be awesome. The problem I couldn't figure out how to do was how to get Instacart to deliver to the parking lot of the bank, not the bank. You know what I mean? Hey, don't knock on the door. Bring the ladder to the sketchy people wearing hoodies. Which is funny because I don't wear hoodies. But, so the next day we go back, Jennifer, who is awesome, amazing pen tester, she is 20 feet in the air on this ladder dressed like a ninja. Andrew, Kathy, and I are on the ground, and our truck is blocking the ATM. We didn't think this one through. And a dude pulls up to go to the ATM. And we're like, shit, we're caught. This guy gets out of the car and he does this. I don't see anything. I didn't see your faces. I'm just going to the ATM. He does the ATM. We're all like, what the fuck? I didn't see anything. I just going back to my car. He gets in his car, he drives off. We're all like, fuck, man, cops are coming, right? Because you don't want to get caught. You don't want to get shot, right? These are possibilities. Nobody came. We broke into the building. We stole stuff. We left. We tell our contact. They look up the dude on the ATM records, and they call him. Hey, man, we're just doing a customer satisfaction survey. We saw that you used the ATM last night. We just wanted to know how it went. This guy goes, it was great. They're like, were there any problems, any oddities, anything that would cause issue? No, man, that dude doesn't snitch. Because he knows, right? This guy what the fuck? You get a call from your bank. There's a 30-foot ladder up against the wall. Some woman's halfway up the building. No, man, nothing was wrong. It was good. Right? But we were able to break into this bank through a second-floor door that was used for smokers to come outside and smoke. It was a little employee lounge. And all we did was we take a door puller, shove it through the crack between the double doors, turn it sideways, pull it back, it hits the crash bar. Right? We show it to the customer, and the customer is, how'd you get up there? We're like, ladder. We repelled. I don't know, what are you, like Spider-Man or something? I don't know, right? And so we go after these things, we test them to evaluate what it looks like to the attacker. Because the reality is, and let me be very clear, this bank that we were testing actually does well at security. I looked at their controls because we were testing the network also, and they were locked down pretty tight. While yes, we got into the building, they had other controls that were pretty decent. I mean, we got into the data center also. That was fun. We used a ladder that the maintenance guys had in a closet that was unlocked and went through the drop ceiling because the data center walls didn't go all the way up, right? They had this really cool lock on the door. They had all these controls on the data center door to like a man trap to get into the data center, all this cool shit. And all we did was climb a step ladder into a drop ceiling. And let me be very clear, my fat ass going over a wall is not an image anybody needs to see, but we have pictures. So, and then you just leave professional evil stickers in the data center, right? So the next day, people are coming in like, those are cool stickers. Wait a minute. Right? This is the type of stuff we do. But here's where the main focus is. This is the place we get the best results. We attack the security team. Why? Because the security team thinks they're better than everybody else. Very often. Not always, right? Because you know that all absolutes are false, including that one. Right? Very often, the security team becomes our target. Why? Because the security team is deploying things, they're bypassing controls, they're not following the processes, and then we get in. One of our favorite things to do is to plug into your network and wait for Nessus to scan us. Because we know it will. Or, I'm sorry, Rapid7. Oh, I'm sorry, whatever. Right? And how did you configure your automated scanner? You gave it domain admin credentials. Well, you have to. Please hear the quotes in italics and sarcasm around have to there. So the minute you scan our machine, we take that set of credentials you just handed us and we pivot onto a domain controller or a server or whatever, and we take control of that system. You gave us the hash. And oh, by the way, your admin password is weak. Stop making your admin password bad stuff about your boss or about that other employee you have the hots for. Because it makes very uncomfortable conversations when your boss says, "What was the password?" Ask them, I'm not telling you. I didn't know you could physically do that. Your head's where? The worst part is, why do you want to type that password every day? Seriously, I get it. You hate your boss. I hate my boss too, and it's me. But I don't type "fuck Kevin" every day as a password. Do you know how many people do? 26. But I don't get it. Weak ass passwords and resets, right? The number of times I actually compromised a network. Well, I won't say who it was, but he looks a lot like me and might be my twin brother. And he was using his password from when we were 14. I happen to know that password. Right? We do this all the time. The reality is, here's what it boils down to. It's very, very simple, and this is where we're going to wrap up. Right? We as InfoSec, we as security people, we have to get out of our ivory tower. We have to stop thinking we're special. We need to be lighting the way, hence the Orion constellation is what we're using here, to show people where to be. And not the stupid shit. How many of you fuckers walk around your organization and change the background wallpaper on the computer when people leave their machine unlocked? Or send out, yeah, you shouldn't have raised your hand. Stop being a dick. Because all you're doing is pissing people off. And while I'm aware that pissing them off is better than pissing on them, it's probably not moving the needle. Because the person that you walked up to their desktop and sent out bulk email saying, "Hey, I'm buying donuts tomorrow," because that's a popular one, the next time that person has an actual security problem, the next time that person has something going on that they need help with, you're not the fucker they're calling. Because they're going to remember you changed their wallpaper. You embarrassed them. And hey, by the way, guess what? Next time they walk by your computer, which I know is unlocked, right? You know it too. It doesn't matter whose it was. I mean, let me be clear. I've done it myself. I'm an asshole. It's in court records, and I don't mean divorce court where that's common. The reality is that our job is to help. We should be evaluating and understanding the actual risks to our organization, what our organization is concerned about, and then focusing the limited resources we have at moving the fucking needle. That simple. Running Nessus against a network and yelling about the fact that we haven't patched that machine that nobody talks to or does anything to, and ignoring the fact that our applications that are exposed to the internet have security flaws for the last 20 years is a problem. We need to focus. We have to do the right things, not just what we want to do, right? We have boring jobs quite often. Do you know how much it sucks to write reports? But the reality is our report is the most important part of our job, right? How we present the information is the most part of any biggest reason we exist, right? And we have to learn so often. We have to evaluate what we're doing and what our opinions are and fix them, right? It's pretty simple. We all are lucky in what we get to do. We are. Look, I'm poor white trash. I know what government cheese tastes like. And I have been given an opportunity to do fun shit and get paid more than I'm probably worth. Right? As such, I have a moral requirement to share the information I know. Every single one of you should be sharing what you know. Every single one of you should be helping your organization get better. And you can't do it by focusing in the wrong spots, right? I will say this, and then I'll let us go, because we'll open it up for questions if anybody has any questions or whatever. Right, we've got a couple minutes left. I'll say this. In the future, if you're doing something and you're not sure what the actual risk is, if you're looking at something and you think you know, but you're not 100% sure, I offer any one of my consultants for questions. And I don't mean that as in you can call us and we'll bill you. We're not lawyers. We don't bill you when we think of you. But if you're dealing with something and you're not sure, if you're dealing with something and people are pushing back, because that happens all the time, call us, email us. We'll help you. If you need to, we'll sign a non-disclosure agreement so that you don't get in trouble for sharing internal information with some random third party. Okay? Brittany, who is our head of sales, I always call her out and embarrass her, right? And I want to be very clear. I said she's our head of sales, and many of you cringed. I'm sure of it, right? Because we all fucking hate salespeople. You know we do. She knows it. Here's the cool thing. Brittany actually trained to be a pen tester. She actually went to school and learned how to do what we do. She's probably smarter than you are. I know she's smarter than I am, right? And then somehow she ended up in sales, and we won't hold that against her. But so when you talk to her, she actually knows how to do what we do, and she knows who in the organization is the right person to answer your question for you, right? And she's not going to try to pimp out a call to get a pen test and all that kind of bullshit. Don't get me wrong. If you need a pen test, you need to talk to her because she wants to sell those, right? We have this rule at Secure Ideas that we have to do payroll every 2 weeks. It's asinine. So we got to make money somehow because our staff, they actually ask for benefits. What is that crap? Insurance. Right? But we'll answer questions for you anytime you need, okay? So any questions today? Yes?
So when you're interviewing for pen testing consultants, what qualities do you look for and how do you identify those?
Okay, so the question was, when you're interviewing for pen testers, what qualities do you look for and how do you interview for those? It's very simple. We like cuddly pen testers. So if you have fur, that is good. No. What we look for in pen testers is we want people who have actually built systems or administered systems, right? We want people with a background in something other than pen testing. Because bluntly, I can teach anybody how to hack something. I can't teach anybody how to understand how the business runs, right? So when we assess things. So if your background is that you were a admin, you were a developer, you were on the help desk, you were a chef, right? We actually have a pen tester. She's one of the best pen testers we've got. She spent 20 years running restaurants as a head chef, right? She was the corporate chef for an organization for years doing instruction on nutrition and everything else like that. And then for some reason, she decided hacking was fun, and she got a job with us. And we actually thought it was a risk, right? Like, oh man, she was a chef. Like, maybe she could make us good lunches, right? But her ability to understand what the organization is doing and pick the logic flaws in the systems is incredible, right? It's Kathy, by the way. I realized I didn't name who it was. Kathy's incredible, right? So that's what we want. We want a variety of experiences, and then we'll have you come in as a pen tester. Does that answer the question?
Absolutely.
Awesome. And then the person next to you had their hand up?
Yeah, I was curious about if you have any moments that you remember where you pivoted your thinking in terms of doing the right thing. So maybe you thought something was right, and you realized maybe it wasn't.
So are there moments where I pivoted my thinking that I thought something was right, then it wasn't? I'm assuming that what you mean is I was going to do something because I felt like it was allowed, and then I realized I was breaking a rule?
No, like in terms of like TLS not being the right thing of what you want to focus on.
Oh, absolutely. That's actually a great example, because when I was younger in the industry, when I was first starting out, I absolutely focused on what Nessus said was critical, right? I would yell at people. I'm one of the people that would regularly say, those fucking users, they click everything as if it was their fault, right? And then what I've realized is that we as security need to think about what does that user need to do their job, right? And then we go from there, right? So those are good examples of it. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think those examples work, but I could probably come up with more if I thought more of it. Does that make sense? Cool. I saw a hand over here. What made me, he's curious, he wants to know what made me start my own company instead of working for somebody else. Well, HR at many of the companies I've worked for will explain to you why I don't do well in corporate America. I have a habit of telling people they're stupid in writing. And so, no, the reason I started Secure Ideas was an accident. Bluntly, I worked for a consulting firm in Guardians, and I got tired of travel. And so I looked for a job. I got recruited. Bank of America approached me to help build a red team in their audit department. And when I went to my current boss to say, how much notice do you need? He said, well, can you do stuff on the side? And I'm like, shit, I don't know. So I went to my new boss and said, hey, man, can I do some stuff on the side to help transition? And it turned out my new boss negotiated with HR to get me an exception to the rules. And so the idea was Monday I would start at the bank, and then Monday night I would start Secure Ideas and do work for InGuardians, and I work for a month, maybe two, and then Christmas would be great for my family. My ex-wife was happy about the extra money, whatever, and then we would go from there. That was almost 14 years ago, and 27 people. So my banking career lasted exactly 2.5 months. I was a vice president. I thought that was impressive until I found out that tellers are vice presidents. And so that's what started the business. I always wanted to run my own business because I thought it'd be fun. It's not. But that's it really just started accidentally. Does that make sense? So not the coolest story in the world, but Any other questions? Yes, sir. So did you say how do I or do I? How do I get organizations to care about being secure, not just being compliant? It's actually pretty simple. We explain to them that if they care and focus on actually securing stuff, they will be compliant. It's that simple, right? If organizations are focusing on just compliance, they're not actually being compliant, right? Because if you look at all of the compliance standards, they all end or have somewhere in them that you have to be doing the right thing. You have to raise the bar for security. Organizations that believe that being compliant is just checking a box don't understand that they're not actually compliant. So we work with them to understand that by working towards secure, which That's not a place, right? You can't be secure. You just have to work toward it, raising the bar, being as secure as possible. If you focus on that, compliance is trivial at that point. And what we then show them, because again, remember I said, focus on what businesses care about. We don't just say to them, you'll be compliant. We show to them that by focusing on being more secure, becoming compliant, like being blessed as compliant, will be more efficient, which means it will cost you less, which means that you'll have more money to spend on other things, right? And so by leveraging those two things, we can actually get them to focus on security. We also help with the idea that if you come to me and we talk to you about how you want to do stuff and all you want to do is be compliant, we don't let you hire us. We don't do checkbox tests, right? We are in a good position. Brittany may not like this because she's commission based, but is that we don't have to take every job that comes in, right? And so that makes it easier for us. Does that help? Cool. And last question, anything? Cool. Get the hell out of here. Have a good day. Come see us at our booth.